Hello, shalom, shalom. Welcome again to Word Up with Gloria. I hope everybody's well and I hope you're all keeping safe. And to those people who are coming here for the very, very first time, you're very, very, very welcome. And to my returning gang, you're always very welcome. Amen and amen. Have you ever felt like you were living in obscurity? Or have you ever had moments when you felt like you have been left in a little dark corner and forgotten? And felt like the world has moved on without you? Well, guess what? You're not alone. We've all gone through those moments when we felt like we have been abandoned somewhere and the world has moved on without us and people have moved on and things are happening in people's lives where we are stuck in this little place. The Bible has stories of men of God who God had called that had those moments of darkness, those moments of obscurity, what we refer to as the wilderness moments. The Bible tells us of people like Joseph, of Moses, of David, and so many others. Joseph was a young man that God had given a dream that he would become somebody very, very big and that people would come and bow before him. His brothers and even his parents would bow before him. He shares these dreams with his brothers. They did not like the dream and they decided to get rid of him. But then again decided not to kill him. And so they sold him into Egypt as a slave. He ends up in the house of Potiphar, where his wife persecutes him. And because of that, he ends up again in jail, in prison. He's languishing there and he feels forgotten, forsaken, abandoned, alone, living out of obscurity. People have moved on with their lives. And at that moment, I'm sure Joseph is beginning to remember the word that God gave him, the dream that he had had of himself as a bright shining star, of somebody that would become prominent, a big person. And the situation in prison did not resemble that dream. And I'm sure he questioned God and he wondered, God, did you really speak about me? Was that you that gave me that dream? Because my life now does not resemble where you showed me that I was going. I feel like I've been forgotten in this prison. I'm languishing here alone, forgotten. And the same with Moses. After Moses killed the Egyptian, trying to help his brethren in Egypt, he ran for his life in the wilderness of Midian. And he spent days and years there as a shepherd in the wilderness, in the back of beyond, away from everything that he had known in his life. He had grown up in the house of Pharaoh, had grown up in privilege, but now he's been relegated into the backside of the desert. He's herding sheep there day in, day out. And I'm sure he questioned himself and he even thought that God had forgotten him. Until one day God shows up in the burning bush. And Moses has this huge encounter with God that puts him on the path to becoming what God had called him to become. We also know David, who had spent years in the wilderness herding his father's sheep. He goes to battle and he fights Goliath. He has a moment of victory where he's been celebrated, but he still has to go back to the wilderness and herd sheep until the appointed time. So there are so many men down in history, in the Bible, and even in our days who have had those moments of obscurity, feeling forgotten, relegated, as though the world has moved on. And so I came to encourage you today that if you have gone through moments like those, or if you are going through a time like that, you are not alone. You have not been forgotten. You may be out of sight of people, but you're not out of the sight of God. You're definitely not out of God's mind. He has not forgotten you. He has put you in his wilderness because he is processing you until the time comes when he will unveil you. When a photographer takes a picture, he takes what is known as a negative. And to be able to process that negative into a picture, he takes the negative into the studio, make sure that everything is pitch black. They switch the lights off. They have black curtains and black walls. Everything needs to be pitch dark, total blackout, so that they can process their negative into a positive picture. And after the picture has been developed, then they switch the lights on, to unveil their beautiful portrait or their beautiful masterpiece. And it's the same with God. Yes, God has spoken wonderful things concerning you. He's taken you somewhere, but he cannot use you unless he can trust you. And he cannot trust you unless he tests you. So those moments of obscurity and feeling of being forgotten, they're not really obscurity moments. They are moments where God is testing you and God is trying you so that he can unveil you as a final masterpiece. So you're not alone and you're not forgotten. God bless you. Please do not forget to like, to leave me a comment, and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you can, please help us to share this video, as that will help us share the gospel and the good news of Jesus Christ. God bless you. Remember, you have not been forgotten. Amen and amen.